Tomorrow, jury deliberations began in Sean Diddy Combs' criminal trial. He is facing charges of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking. He has pleaded not guilty to all the charges. If convicted, he could face life in prison.
Okay, but what exactly is expected to happen here? Let's bring in our legal analyst, Royal Oakes. Royal, what is on the table starting tomorrow?
Robert and Kathy, after 7 weeks of hearing about freak-offs, we're now wondering whether this jury is going to freak out over the need to agree unanimously on various counts. And therein lies an inside baseball issue. Tomorrow morning, we will learn out of New York City whether they will be presented with just the big ones, sex trafficking and racketeering, or if the judge will give the jury the option of saying, well, no to that, but what about some drugs and arson and bribery? So if he gives them the lesser included offenses, it could significantly increase the chance of a conviction of Sean Diddy Combs.
And Royal, you've been watching this. We've been talking to you about it. 7 weeks this has lasted so far. Can you tell us more about what the prosecution laid out versus the defense? And do you think each side was effective or not?
Well, it's good news and bad news for the prosecution, Kathy. The bad news is that they're trying to tell the jury he's a racketeer, but when people hear the word, they think of John Gotti, some sort of mafia don, not a hip-hop mogul with an anger management problem. They're also saying he's into sex trafficking. But there again, people think some poor woman snatched off the street in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and taken and chained to a bed in a brothel in Miami. Not 3 or 4 women who were basically girlfriends of him. He admittedly beats them up, but is it really sex trafficking? The good thing for the prosecution is this jury probably hates him because they saw the beating video. They're looking for a way and a reason to vote against him. So that's the dynamic.
Royal, at 5 o'clock this afternoon, you talked about how the defense is going into this being pretty confident. Confident because they didn't call any witnesses and they didn't call Combs to the stand. Was there, do you think, any possibility that they could have brought him onto the stand to sort of like, again, play with their belief that, listen, he is not a great guy here, but he's not a sex trafficker?
Absolutely not. He could have tried to charm them, but here's the problem. If he were on the stand, they'd run through a highlights reel of all the bad stuff he did. And cross-examination of a high-profile defendant like that, Robert, he's going to be on the stand not for hours, but for days, with the prosecution basically pointing their finger in his chest saying, you did this, you did that. He could blow. We've all seen videos of him with his explosive temper, and that could mean lights out. It could mean an automatic conviction if he really offended the jury in court.
So if he is found guilty, what are you thinking right now as far as how much prison time he would be facing?
Well, he's looking at 20 years to life if the big ones go down, sex trafficking and racketeering. But he could be looking at 2 or 3 or 4 years if he's convicted on the lesser counts, if they're offered. And here's the key. 12-0, as I started out saying, it's hard to agree on that. And if you've got 10-2 or 11-1 for guilt, but 1 or 2 are saying no way, you might drag them over the line by saying, okay, no racketeering. What about arson? What about bribery? Yeah, it'll be 5 or 10 years in prison. So you could see some horse trading in that jury room.
Royal, you've got investigations that are happening in Los Angeles, that are happening in Miami, that are happening in New York. When this case is done and dusted for whatever reason, do other investigations and other potential trials move forward?
Probably not, Robert, because the statutes of limitation have been expiring one by one over the years, over the decades, because a lot of these allegations are from 20 years ago. Instead, Diddy's problem is the civil lawsuits. He's already paid $20 million to Cassie Ventura, $400,000 to one of the anonymous accusers, and you've got dozens of other women who are lined up. They've already filed their suits and waiting for their settlement check.
All right, we know you'll be watching it. We'll probably be talking to you. It all starts tomorrow. The jury gets the case. Thank you so much, Royal.
You bet.
All right.